Bob, you good?
But there's no music. There's supposed to be music.
There was music.
We heard it.
I heard no music.
I heard
Got
Oh.
I heard a
blackout.
little.
Oh wow, I heard no music. Sorry guys. Wow. I don't know what
And
happened
we're
there.
off.
Yeah, and we're off. This kind of speaks to how the show is going to be today. Welcome to Stormwatch by GreyNoise Intelligence. Each week we drop the latest info on what's happening at GreyNoise and Census. Take a look at a roundup of important and timely cybersecurity topics and toss out some expert opinions and the occasional conspiracy theory. Although last week it was more than the occasional one. I'm
Mhm.
Bob Brutus, and with me are my co-hosts Kimber. Kimber, are you all set for Thanksgiving?
I am all set for Thanksgiving. I am bringing the at my family home vibes. So if you
It's
see
great.
a dog and my dad in the background, that's just going to be the way it is.
That's
Oh, I
awesome.
want to talk to Kimber's dad.
And
I got questions. I have lots of questions.
and Kimber, isn't it great to have most of the Stormwatch crew back with us?
Yeah, no, I feel like this is really nice. It's like family.
Yeah, I mean, like one of them could have stayed away, but that's right. Emily, how are you doing today, Emily?
Pretty good. I feel like I haven't been here in I haven't been here in a few weeks, so it's good to be back.
It is great to have you back, and I really hope Glenn didn't cause too much trouble at the workshop.
Unspeakable trouble. Like we just can't even talk about it.
Yeah, I figured. That's,
What happens in Reston? No, McLean.
Tyson's Corner stays in Tyson's Corner.
Yeah, Tyson's Corner. Yeah, stays in Tyson's Corner.
Oh man, cool. Well, it's great to have you back. And Glenn, it seems I have once again failed to have you detained by the TSA.
Yeah, well, I don't know what to tell you, but your contact sucks.
I know I got to work harder on this one. Any big plans for Turkey Day?
Just the usual, some family, some football, some food. You know, hopefully nothing exciting is the goal. No drama.
Yeah. Actually, I did wish because Remy's out until next week, and I wished Remy a uneventful Thanksgiving because he could use an uneventful week.
Exactly
So
right.
yeah, exactly. I think we all could use an uneventful week. Making all this possible, and literally the only reason why it goes as smoothly as it does is our amazing Overwatch Ashley. Good morning, Ashley. And today we once again have a special shout out to the design team in Austin for our epic Thanksgiving graphics. We have a little turkey behind me. I don't mean Glenn. I'm actually talking about the turkey that's right here.
Oh man.
And if you
Oh,
all are
good one.
joining us, if you're joining us live, again, do not hesitate to heckle or provide your insights to the comment boxes on whatever platform you're engaging with us on. So I'm going to kick into the slides right now. I gotta press play, I guess, to do that too. Yeah, today's going really great. I don't know what's going on. There we go. There we go. For those of you who do not engage in the video platforms, we do have a podcast. You can find them at these URLs. You don't need me to speak it because if you're listening to it, you have the podcast. So like you got it in there. And hopefully we will have better URLs soon. We have to wait until like some domain stuff clears, but this should be a fun domain coming up. And before we actually dig into today's topics, Ashley, the design team, me and a couple other folks had a cool meeting yesterday. We were talking about some December plans. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows that in December, Tagsmas is coming.
Tagsmas.
We are going to be doing the
Oh,
12 days of Tagsmas, which is going to be a little like Advent type calendar where we're going to talk about all things GreyNoise tags, go into some details, talk about our faves. It's going to be pretty darn cool. And Ashley, I believe we are starting this on the 1st. So keep an eye out for this. And we will probably showcase a couple things on the watches before then too. So
Is
this
so
should be a lot of
wholesome.
fun.
I'm so excited about this.
It's going to be great. Tagsmas is going to be so cool. And it fits, right? Gift tags, except our tags. I mean, our tags are gifts to our customers, for keeping them safe. So it's kind of nice. We came down to the wire on this one, folks, because like I said, for 3 or 4 of these now, we try to come up with a good thing to talk about because we always talk about bad things. And down to the wire, almost didn't have a good thing. I was gonna be real depressed about that, but we do have a good thing. The feds took down the IPStorm Botnet. This was an interesting little botnet service too. This was a great story. They were operating for a few years back in 2019, 2022. And they had this thing where they compromise your home PC. So you like for everyone out there, home PCs, home routers, you say, like, why do cyber criminals, they wouldn't want to, who wants this thing? It's garbage. I'm not an enterprise or whatever. No, they want your residential IP space so that they can like do all their bad stuff through there and sell it to the people out there. So this was an interesting service. There are some quote unquote legitimate ones like this too, although I don't know if any of them technically are legitimate if they're reusing your services for your IPs for stuff. But they had 23,000 of these things. So shutting this down is actually a really, 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 really good thing. One thing I'm putting Emily on the spot because I didn't ask Emily this before. In terms of like these types of anonymous proxies from the scan data that you all have, like, is that something that's easily detectable, or is it, or because they're generally probably inside people's houses behind routers, they're not something that really Census sees a whole lot?
So it kind of depends, right? Like if the telltale, like the IOC kind of situation is on the edge device, like the router
Okay.
itself, like that's a different story than if it's on your like home computer, right? Like we can't see that. We can't see anything that's kind of behind your home router. But Soho equipment, things like that, like those are things we can see.
Yeah.
So yeah, it sort of depends on how it's configured.
Gotcha. It's just great to have 23,000 fewer things doing bad things out there. Generally speaking, they were performing targeted stuff, generally not spraying everything, and like they didn't cost a whole lot to use the service. But it's really great to see that this being shut down. So good job on law enforcement once again, keeping us safe from the cybers that are out there. And I just had to call them out a little bit though, because in the report they actually use the word cyber. And I get it. Okay, I get it. Kinetic is
New
like a
word.
physical thing, but cybernetic, I had not seen this like actually referred to. I've seen cyber attack. I've seen it in, like the official docs and things like that. Have you all seen cybernetic in any of these official like law enforcement, like military type docs?
No, but
No.
I'm excited that we definitely live in the future. Like this is a key indicator that we are living in the future. Cybernetic means.
Yeah,
I mean,
weirdly,
so what are we trying to convey with this term?
Moves through cyber.
Yeah, you're using cyber clubs and cyber saws and cyber hatchets and cyber guns. You know,
Okay.
it feels like just cyber would have been enough here. Because
Yeah.
that's what I
cybernetic,
thought.
like that's a whole different, that means something entirely different, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's
it's
what I
not
thought.
the analog to kinetic. It's a different word.
Saying enabled through cyber means, and that just the cringe of that sentence.
Honestly, if I could do away with the prefix cyber altogether, I hate it. It's security. It's infosec. It's like
Oh,
get rid of cyber. I feel
wow.
strongly
Wow.
about that. I hate it.
Be more specific with your language, FBI. I like that.
This is great. I know I have 2 trigger words for Emily.
Yeah,
This
me
is
too. And I want to combine them, but I'm trying to be nice. I figure like this will be the
No,
weak
You know what?
one.
I'm just gonna say it. Cyber threatenting. The end.
Yeah.
Okay. Now
Okay,
I got
all
that out of
right,
the way
fine.
on a pie
Yeah.
chart.
The key
So
part of Thanksgiving is teasing, heckling, terrorizing each other. So cyber threatening, Emily.
It's like the
So,
drunk uncle at your home on Thanksgiving
actually,
Day.
Glenn, I know exactly what we're going to do here. We're actually going to hold a cyber thrunting workshop and invite Census to it. That's what we're going to do.
Oh.
Sorry, new phone. Who this? Nope.
So I will suggest that Special Agent Gonzalez may want to like tone down the enthusiasm, curb the
Or
enthusiasm
maybe
here.
AI wrote this.
It could be. Oh, you know what? I'll have to try some things across a bunch of the AIs that are out there, and ones that are left. Like OpenAI is going to die soon, right? So whatever one's left.
Oh boy.
Pour one out. That's a whole
And
other
see what it
topic.
is. Yeah,
Can
we're
I
not doing
just-
that today. Yeah.
Also, it's cool that this is Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
Like,
I thought. Yeah, I was hoping someone else would bring that up, and like I didn't want to stage it, and I want to bring it up. I was hoping someone else. This is really cool. Like this office there did this. It's their field office did this.
I
It's
want to
great.
work in that field office. Except in the summer during hurricane season.
It's kind of hot year round though, hot and humid.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
Like,
used to
all the
that. I
time.
just want the beaches.
I wouldn't mind Glenn moving to Puerto Rico.
The cybernetic beaches of Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Puerto Rico. All right, we have killed this to death. Actually, and
actually I do. There was. I have to call this out just because it's fun.
Yeah.
The IPStorm malware used the interplanetary file system, which just sounds
IPFS.
fun.
Yeah. That's cool.
It's just peer-to-peer, but it's called interplanetary. Why can't I say that? And I just
Interplanetary.
yeah. So the IPFS, we need to get on the cybernetic IPFS system. Yeah,
That is
it
interesting.
just sounds more fun than it is, but just a fun little thing.
It is. Actually, we should do a thing on that too to see what plans you all have at Census for actually monitoring IPFS, if any, and what plans we have for honeypotting IPFS too. We'll maybe January we'll do that.
Yeah.
We do a breaking news,
Ooh,
or is it broken news? I don't know. So this one, just lol. I got to tell you, I hate respecting even just a little bit like the extortion and ransomware groups out there, but you got to give them props when deserved. And so these folks, AlphV, they're really like they're capable and really bad humans, really bad people. They tried to extort MeridianLink by basically the way they would normally do. They didn't even ransom; they just like stole all their stuff, and they weren't getting paid. They weren't getting any comms from this. Like actually, I'll bring up the thing. So to make the point a little bit more home, instead of just they had their website that posted all the stuff up there and said, hey, we got their stuff. They're not. They got ticked off and they went. So there's a new rule, the SEC, and like we'll talk about it a little bit more in a second. That like you have to actually like file reports if you have like ransom extortion type things, like cyber things happening to you for a public company. So the AlphV like actually filled in a report for them on the SEC site. Like this is bold. I don't know. Like I know you guys read some of this thing. I gotta tell you, I think I want to start doing this for orgs that we know have been breached.
For orgs that you hack.
No,
that you extort.
I do not run a criminal empire on the side. No, I do not do that.
Bob's about to
then why are you filling out this form?
Robin Hood.
I just because sometimes people have breaches and then they don't tell people stuff. So and you might hear about it.
Okay.
I don't know.
So are you in support of this?
I actually do kind of like the fact that they did this. I think I have here. So like, and this is the text we want to bring to your, like, this is actually not bad, like phrasing too. We want to bring to your attention a concerning issue regarding MeridianLink's compliance with the recently adopted cybersecurity incident disclosure rules. It has come to our attention that MeridianLink, in light of a significant breach compromising customer data and operational information, has failed to file the requisite disclosure under item 1.05 of Form 8K within the stipulated 4 business days as mandated by the new SEC rules. So this is kind of like a nice smug little thing that they threw into there. What one smugness I will throw back on these smart guys at AlphV, the rule doesn't kick in until December 14th. So MeridianLink, while it would have been great if they did the right thing and actually filled the form out, they don't have to until the 14th. So yeah, so they're a little smug, and just warning to all the public companies out there, you like on the 14th stuff gets real. And like you're gonna probably see other groups just take this tack if you decide not to do things or whatever. So you might want to fill the form out before they do.
It is an interesting chain of events to compromise an organization, try to get money from them, get ignored, then go tell dad, like I don't know, tell the other parent, like
that's exactly how it feels.
Mom said no, so I'm going to dad, or dad said no, I'm going to mom, whatever. Like I don't.
MeridianLink is like a financial organization, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Seems important. Seems like something that you should definitely report to the SEC.
Well, not if you don't have to, right? Like if it's not true yet, like
not until the 14th.
Yeah. Like, I mean, no one's going to voluntarily. Well, I guess Clorox did, right? Or
well, yeah, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, no, but I mean, there was one company recently that filed the SEC form. So
it's just like this is bold, and I guess to all public companies out there, just be aware that this is the thing. You probably should deal with that. Glenn and I have been talking like not on Stormwatch about the drop in the precipitous drop in the number of public companies and the continued decline in the number of public companies. Rules like this are actually one reason why people are actually going private. So it's great that these rules exist, but they're having like less and less impact over time because there's fewer and fewer public companies out there.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, you sent me some data that you pulled up on your own. Like, of course, you make graphs like in your sleep, so it's no big deal for you. But it was really interesting. Like, that would be worth I don't know, maybe a personal blog post or something. But like, I had not realized the number. Well, what is it? Like half in the last 20, 30 years of.
Yeah, it was like there was almost 9,000 at one point, and then it's now down below 3. It's not down below 4,000. It's like 3,900.
It's very interesting to me. Yeah. But
so they're going to avoid scrutiny. It's not great. And then this one, so yet another file sharing thing that no one knew about before the vulnerability came out. CrushFTP. If you don't know about CrushFTP, definitely check your enterprise, your org, you're probably running it because orgs seem to run everything all these days all these days.
Someone's running
Thi-
it in their workstation under their
yeah,
desk.
it's somewhere. And Glenn, do you want to talk about this at all, or do you want to just like mention the fact that we know about this?
It's more general awareness. Again, as you said, like a product that at least I had not heard of, a lot of folks had not heard of. Another product that is used for sharing large amounts of data, usually, especially with FTP, which is still in use, which is another conversation for later, because it's an insecure. I mean, it's just by protocol, it's insecure, but it's also used for sharing like usually sensitive data. And so fully expect this to turn into another, I don't want to say move it because we don't know the scope as much. Actually, Emily, maybe what is the
Yeah.
kind of the blast radius of Crush?
So looking at CrushFTP services that like looking specifically for like the web interface or like that admin panel, which again seems to be a thing like it was with Go Anywhere. There are about 6,300 of them that we see online as of
Okay.
like this morning. Now I think the interesting piece to this, like where we're talking about whether this is parallel to Move It, like I don't know that this is as much of an enterprise tool going for like the same type of market that Move It
Mhm.
kind of was targeting, like highly regulated companies or highly regulated industries, like that whole thing. So I don't know like what the kind of core user persona is for Crush FTP, but I
Yeah.
suspect maybe it's a little different.
It's open source nerds.
Yeah, so it's kind of what I'm getting at. Like maybe there's not that there's still not like potential, obviously, like for this to go very sideways, but I wonder if that will change kind of the victimology a little bit.
It is a bad vuln, like Howdy on our team. Well, actually a few of our folks, so I don't want to, well, Howdy led the effort, so like everyone gets credit, but Howdy did the coolest. But no, he kind of honed in on this on Thursday, Friday, and found it pretty quick. Did patch diff, found it pretty quick, and it's bad. Like it's 10 of 10. It's bad. Like, so if you're affected by this, it will be a very easy, quick snipe.
Yeah, and we do have a tag for it. There's no activity on it right now. So this has happened enough in the past couple of months, maybe past year. And it's weird because it doesn't make a lot of like what I'm about to say. And Glenn, I'll hit it off like I'm saying, so of course it doesn't make sense, but it does make a lot of sense. But my brain is thinking, are people like leaving vulnerabilities and maybe like in their software and maybe teasing that there may be vulnerabilities in the software to researchers to get free advertising? Because like I hadn't heard about CrushFTP before. Like I know
I
about them
cannot
now.
imagine.
I am probably not going to use CrushFTP ever. Not
Right.
for the phone, but just why would I use it? But like, is there anything into like, hey, let's leave vulnerabilities in. We'll fix them. Our name will get in the news. We won't. So basically, not checking for vulns, or maybe just not checking for vulns. That'll eventually find one, and that gets our product name out in the press for a while. Like it gets a bump in Google. I don't know. There's in the back of my head, I'm like, this feels like maybe there's like a side angle for some of these things that are out there. I don't know.
I mean, I don't think that Move It's sales have gone up in the last 3
Okay,
months.
that's good. That's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, I would come nearer, like to put on my tinfoil hat, I would come nearer saying maybe they're doing this to get free like security assessments. Although I
That's
don't
what I
think
was
that's the
thinking you were going to
case.
If you
say.
want one,
Yeah.
if you do want one, I
Yeah.
have
Still
one.
have
Yeah.
it.
I forgot I should have like brought mine for today. But yeah, like that's the closest I could think of because I almost feel like what's happening is these tools are just under so much more scrutiny now
Okay.
by actors of all flavors. Like, and if you're financially motivated, like hit these tools, go for back office software. This stuff is
Mhm.
exposed. We've seen that like there are bunches of web apps that are just hanging out that have SQL injection in them. Like in 2023, that seems like the bar should be a little bit higher than that. So like, I don't know, to me, I feel like it's maybe a little bit of the I don't know, like copycat phenomenon too,
Mhm.
where
Yes.
folks are like, yep, I'm going to go after this now. I'm going to check this. I'm going to check that because I don't know, maybe they just have these companies have like terrible PR and they're like, yeah, we're going to just like leave this critical 10 out of 10 in our software and like, reap the benefits. We'll be in Google for a few days on the top.
I
We'll be the top.
refuse to coexist in a world that they're like, yeah, we'll just let all of these 45 million people's data get out so we can get some free advertising that shouldn't happen.
Okay, so on
Well,
the flip side then, oh, sorry, go ahead, Kimber, I'm sorry.
Oh, I was going to say, I think the copycat thing is a really good point because, and this is something from when I was taking art classes, like if you wanted to learn like art techniques, you copied the great masters and like
Mhm.
you
Right.
would copy that. So you would have the memory of like how to compose things in your head. So, you know, if you're seeing these FTP vulnerabilities on other things, then you're going to deep dive into, okay, how can I do this for myself? How can I copy this? I think it's a great way to learn.
And when like even with like in real life kind of like violent crime, there's often talk about like
Mhm.
investigators often
Okay.
have discussions with news media like whether or not we can talk about the details of it because we don't
Right.
want to encourage copycats. So I think we're seeing kind of a similar, obviously those are two very different things, and I'm not implying that like violent real world crime is in any way the same as like having data stolen, but I think kind of the underlying mechanisms of, we're talking about this a lot, people are like, wow,
Psychology
this
of
seems,
it, yeah.
yeah. So like, I don't know. Like, I think there's parallels there.
And so I am going to dwell just a little bit more on this one, and not with my crazy idea, but a different one. So you know how like the White House called an AI summit because the public went nuts and whatever, and
Right.
they had all the AI whatever people go to the thing and do whatever. Um, it's pretty obvious that like no one reads. I'm sorry, IT and cyber news orgs out there, but like only we read you. Like nobody else reads you. So it's obvious like CrushFTP didn't read the news because they didn't bother digging into the thing to find out if they had any bad paths, because Move It got, and like all the other ones got hit too. So this category got hit a lot this year. We're probably going to talk about that in some publications at the end of the year or beginning of the year. And would it make sense for like CISA to work, or DHS in general to work with the White House to, hey, this category of enterprise software got massively targeted. Okay, the AI thing was stupid. It accomplished nothing. It was a joke kind of thing that they did at the White House. But this would be like, get everybody in all these major like file sharing things together and say, do something, like basically do something that makes it appear that you're actually trying to make a difference and create some kind of an initiative or whatever on that one, versus just let this thing keep happening. Like, is there any kind of initiative like that you all think might work?
I mean, I think it's a good idea. What I wonder is, again, is there even a good inventory of all of the softwares in certain categories like this? And how much
That's where I think-
pressure? What, Kimber? Sorry.
I was saying, like, that's exactly where my brain goes, but keep
Yeah,
going.
like no one literally know, like, because you could just stand up a thing tomorrow, right? And it gets used and you don't know where. And what was my other point? Oh, this puts a lot of pressure on these smaller companies, right? Like, I mean, I'm assuming that this is smaller, right? Because we didn't know about it, and the same with Move It and stuff. But you know, you go back to that startup mentality of, a lot of startups don't have the resources to invest in security and do testing and stuff. Like, their goal is to make a thing, make money to survive till tomorrow. And so now threat actors have really focused in on these smaller, less resourceful software packages because of that. And so it makes it right. Like Cisco and larger, global brands have the resources to invest in security. It doesn't always go well, but they are like doing and trying what they can and what they know about. Whereas like for this, I'm assuming that they probably weren't really trying to find these things. And again, as fast as it was found and as bad of a exploit this is, it's a little disappointing. But like to your question, Bob, I don't know that there would be a good enough inventory, that which is maybe where that program would start, right?
Right.
I mean,
No, I think that's kind of what I'm thinking is like we need an inventory of, I call this category of software the graybeard software, where it's open source. It's you don't know where it may have been installed. It's existed since, this one is 1998, I think.
Oh, this one was?
Oh yeah.
So it's been around for that long
probably
and
ancient.
none of us have heard of it?
I've like
Well,
heard of it, but I
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a
That's why,
really
like,
dumb name. I mean, it's a really dumb name. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry for the developers who really
Maybe that was their plan all along, is after 30 years, like to have a crushing bone.
you can just tell it's like got all the trademarks of like a Greybeard sysadmin installed this on all of the servers because it was just easier to do that than. So do an audit of all your weird ancient software. I'm sorry to say the 90s are ancient, but they are.
They're ancient.
In terms of software, especially, like that's another entire like century. Well, literally it is, but like in terms of software, like yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Anyway,
So
go check for CrushFTP in your org and
yeah, definitely
fix it.
Yeah. And maybe get a better inventory in general while you're doing that too. All right. So the breaking news is over. We are back to our regularly scheduled programming. We're revisiting one story because there's been a new development in it. For any of the folks that are in executive cybernetic leadership out there. Sorry. Maybe aiming to be a CISO isn't the career goal you might thought it was. So folks may remember back a few shows ago, we talked about the Clorox breach. Massive, like I'm going to switch to this just for people that want to read it. Just the review of the incident, they got hit pretty bad. A lot of their facilities were just not available for a while. They did get things back. I think it was a week later than that. And they basically have said to the SEC that there is material impact on this. And they fired the CISO for this. And like, I have mixed things about that because like, is that just a token thing that they did because they to look like we did something? We fired the CISO. It was there because I've been in an org and we've all been at various levels of the org. But Glenn and I have been in different levels of an org where it's like you really try to make a difference, but you're not the person that can generally make that difference across the org. If the org doesn't do the buy-in, maybe you didn't do the buy-in. But like, so just what are your reactions to a company firing a CISO because an incident happened?
Just a token process thing. And I think people who sign up to be the CISO know that this is a risk. Like if anything goes sideways, that company cannot support keeping you because no matter what, like it's like a responsibility. It's one of those positions that I feel like has to be the fall guy, like the fall
It's like
person.
a football coach or a sports team coach, right? Like eventually you're the first to go.
Because like they can't technically, I mean, I guess they could fire the person who like was in charge of managing whatever servers, but ultimately it's a managerial
But
responsibility.
that doesn't make news.
Yeah,
Shareholders don't care
that
that shift manager 3 was released from duties because of this issue. They care that Chief XYZ was.
Yeah, it's to the point where it feels almost like the last like box on the incident response checklist is like fire the CISO.
Yeah.
Like that's the final thing.
Yeah, that's
it's
the
so
wrap
predictable.
And
did you fire them?
And look at we've had a couple stories now today and several recently, and one thing that's in common with all of them is SEC, right? And that kind of goes back to what we were implying about earlier. But the SEC is obviously exchanged with the public trading side of finances, and these are public companies. Public companies exist to make money. So yeah, it's to me, it's a very theatrical response. It's unfair for the reasons that Bob mentioned, because we do know that oftentimes it's like everything we do is a business decision. We talk about that all the time. And what if this person, speculating, but like, what if this person asked for XYZ for 3 years in a row and the board of business said no? Well, then why are they in trouble? Like now they're actually the hero in this situation. So I always kind of look at if it's available, like were they fired like with a multi-million-dollar package? Well, then to me that means it's theatrical and it's for optics. If they were fired and there's no golden parachute package, then it's like they probably screwed up, right? Like, so that's where my brain goes as far as like trying to decipher the two, which that information is not always available.
That's a
But
good
I don't
point.
ever feel better about an org when they say like, yeah, we got hacked and we fired our CISO.
Well, for all those people whose dream it is to be a CISO, like make sure to negotiate in a golden parachute if you
Yeah.
get fired
Yeah.
due to incident.
Well, and now you have to worry about jail time, right? Like that's kind of trending a little bit. So, you know, the CISO roles, the salaries are not going down.
But the
With all of
stress
these
just
risks that are
ratchets
coming with
up
it.
and up. And like I
Yep.
think we've kind of waxed poetic about this on the show before about like, well, what is the future of the CISO role even going to look like in 5 years? Like, how are you going to get people into an organization who actually understand like how risky it is, like that they're going to have to fall on their sword should something happen, but actually come in and want to help an organization make change and push toward like
It's like we
actual real
fought.
security.
It's like we fought for 20 years to get the CISO at the table. Well,
Yeah.
to get the CISO, period. Then get the CISO at the table. And now the table is set and they're like, all right, well, you're at the kids' table, so you can be the first to go. You know?
I don't feel like you'd see a CFO getting fired for finding
Yeah.
Right.
Kimber, I love that because I was actually going to close with that. Like, yeah, like so GM made a call on EVs and they failed. It's failing miserably. Like they're actually losing money. So why isn't the CFO or the CEO or somebody in senior leadership on the
Yeah.
chopping block, just like the Clorox CISO was? Like, why the double standard?
It feels like CISO isn't like a true like executive role. It's
Right.
or like a
Exactly.
true like C-suite player. It's like really you're more of a VP or you're more of like you're not quite
Yeah. Okay.
there.
I mean, yeah, how many things do we see that a C-level executive go through or be charged with
Right.
criminally or civilly or whatever, and it's fine. But yeah.
Yeah, just food for thought. And folks that are individual contributors wanting to rise up through the ranks, maybe continue to be an individual contributor.
or get a lawyer.
or a few. Speaking of the SEC, we're riddled with SEC stuff today.
Yeah.
Rackspace had this little thing called ransomware attack a little while back, and in a fairly semi-recent filing, they disclosed some of the details associated with that. So we have links up for those on there. This was this happened to their exchange infrastructure. So we actually happen to have a tag for that. I'm not going to ask Emily to give me any exchange stats out there. Exchange is out there. No one manages them well. It's a terrible thing. And so basically, the deal was here. So anytime you see in an SEC filing, which is what I have as part of the text up now, several lawsuits, service disruptions to hosted exchange mail business, and then if you add up the figures in there, roughly $11 million it's cost them so far for a ransomware attack. I'm not going to beat on Rackspace for this, except the one thing I will say is like if you're going to commit to doing like an exchange service, you might want to focus really hard on security for that because it just seems like you should know better than to host an exchange service if you're not going to.
Or just don't
Yeah.
you just don't host exchange. It's expensive. It's hard. Like just don't. It's also a headache. Like just don't.
So the one thing, my question, folks, is since I don't want to rag on Rackspace, do you see, like, so for this managed exchange space, because this is a thing, like this isn't the only vendor. Like you would think Microsoft would be the only vendor that would do this, but like no other people have tried to make money doing this as well too. Let's say that all these were just the managed exchange outside of Microsoft goes away. Like there is no other hosting provider but Microsoft for this. There's other email providers out, there's other email services out there. Is the attacker stuff just going to focus because like XM has regular vulnerabilities and there's pop and IMAP servers that those as well too. Is this really just something because Exchange is easy and there's lots of vulns for this that they're just taking advantage of it here? If Rackspace said we're going to switch to using this, would the chances of them being ransomware in that kind of a situation be less than Exchange, or was this really just because they just didn't manage Exchange poorly, or they just didn't manage Exchange well, I should say?
I mean, it wasn't. I'm trying to think of the timing of this because this was a year ago, but I don't think it was. It wasn't breaking. Like it wasn't a new vuln, if I recall right. Like I mean, it was new like a month or 3 earlier, but it wasn't like an O-Day. And that's
There's time
where.
to patch.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way of putting it. There was ample time to patch, and okay, CrushFTP. You know, maybe you don't know you have it. You don't know to check it all the time because you don't know you have it, whatever. Like if you have Exchange, you know it because you have to see it every day when you click on the icon to open the email, right? Like, you know, you have Exchange, and you know that it is like the first to get exploited with any CVE or vulnerability. There's some recent ones this fall, right? So there's zero excuse. Like, we can have like this, like with hurricanes, there's the cone of
That's it. It's the probabilities. Yeah, the wind
yeah,
speed.
exactly. Like, Exchange is always in that like warning area of like the cone of probability is always, Exchange is always in the middle of that.
Gotcha.
I think this was proxy, not shell. It was an exploit change.
It was related, at least. I can't recall.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like from August, right? And this is December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they're up to like 11 million so far in this issue, and still going.
the Play ransomware group is who got them, which that name doesn't sound familiar to me, but good for them.
Good for you. Yet again, we praise the attackers on the Stormwatch. All right. We're gonna jump through here, and
This is really turning into the ransomware show.
we are turning into the ransomware show because it's the easiest and most successful attack vector. And
It
that's
is.
Why try? Why you don't need?
and we are showing, and we tend to try to focus on the ones that are with the initial access vector of being the internet, because that's what we do for a living. So we're trying to raise awareness that you do need to care about your perimeter, even though for a bunch of years people were telling you didn't. That's like one reason why Census exists, because they care about making sure people keep their perimeters clean and tidy and are safe from things. And we tell people that you should be scared because look what's happening out there. So like, you really do need to care about this. So this is Toyota Financial. I always find it fascinating that the car manufacturers all have a financial arm, because they try to be the ones to give you your loan for things. It's an interesting way of doing that, because you can raise prices artificially then anyway. I won't go into conspiracy theories on
Settle
that.
down.
That's for last week. The Medusa ransomware gang hit them with this, and I wanted to bring this up just because of this is the first time I've actually seen this. So, and like, I don't pay as close of attention to ransomware. You wouldn't know that from the Stormwatch buy as I used to, but like, so they gave them 10 days to respond, and then the option to extend the deadline for $10,000 per day. And I'm like, my first thought was, well, at least Toyota now feels what it's like to have overcharges on rental fees.
They went to speak to the manager to see
Yeah.
the middleman to see if they could negotiate.
But like, have you seen like the brazenness of these folks saying, okay, yeah, well, we're gonna do it, but you know, if you agree to give us $10,000 a day, like, we'll let you extend this so you can make your decision what you're gonna do. Like, this is a weird move. I don't understand this one.
Well, do you have to pay the $10,000 daily, or do you have like basically like $8 million in credits to, like, I guess that math doesn't work actually, but yeah.
No, it's like $10,000 additional on top.
Yeah, additional.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. It's like don't release it. Just give us a day. Add 10 grand. Sure, just keep rolling up the tab, bartender. Yeah. Like, I don't. This is.
What if they could lease their data back?
This is. Ouch. Wow. Yeah, so I guess the other reason why I want to bring this up is like the ransomware attackers aren't remaining stagnant in the tactics and techniques they're using, both on the attack side of the equation and then also on the like get money out of you side of the equation. This is an interesting tactic change. This is an interesting additional way of them getting money off of a place, and also it's a pretty large amount to be asking as well too for this one.
Also,
so
look at that UI. Like, add a day, delete.
I
all
love
the
that.
time.
I think that's so funny. Just add a
Like,
day.
does it take Apple Pay? Like, it's just such a
Well,
click
no,
it.
because it can take that long to restore your backups, I guess. But if you don't know if your backups are going to fail or not,
you can just click that button every day until you finally give up and just pay the money, I guess. I don't know.
Silly. It's so silly.
I don't know, but I'm really losing patience for organizations that get ransomed more than 4 to 6 weeks after there's a patch. Like, I mean, really, it's like a week after, but like, I'm trying to give some grace for how complicated these things are. But like, this is a whole thing.
Yeah.
What's
and actually,
about this, like, is if everybody just didn't pay, there wouldn't be like a market for this.
Oh, that could be like an entire podcast.
Yeah,
Like the
and we
I
are.
economics
know.
of
Yeah,
ransomware.
so we
Like,
are. We are. I have spoke speaks. I've had speaks with insurance folks. So we will be having probably next January, February next year. We'll have some
Oh
cyber
man,
insurers
we need to
on
schedule an extra
talk
hour for
about
that one
things.
because I have lots of
Ooh,
yeah,
questions.
like
wow.
let's just do a special edition because
Yeah.
I think there's
Please.
so many interesting pieces here.
Cool.
Like
And that'll give us a reason to have the design team make us a new logo. We can have a special edition.
Oh yeah. And Glenn, hold on to that thought about timing for a little bit later in the thing, because there'd be a good discussion later. We're not going to go into it deep. This is up there because it was the NetScaler that was the vector point for this one, and why we have the screen up with the tag. The URLs are everywhere. You all know the drill by now. So it's a thing. We're still seeing a lot of stuff. But Kimber, there's a new cool thing we have in our visualization library.
And
What is it?
so hype about this thing. So one of the things that we have added recently is this adorable, amazing, very informative tag created indicator on our tag timeline.
Annotations. We have annotations on the viz. It's amazing.
Yes, and this is important because one of the things that we evaluate when we write a tag is there exploitation in the past? Like it might be an end day or something that we're writing a tag on that's like an emerging threat or trying to find more information about it. So if GreyNoise publishes the tag and there's exploitation that happened before, it makes it much more clear. Some of the things also are like, sometimes we come across old things that need to be tagged, and it might have existed since 2018 or something like that, but it's just like a scanning thing. So just that extra annotation gives you a reference of like point in time. Where did GreyNoise start looking at this? And how long have we seen scanning for it?
Yeah, because we have all of our data since Andrew like registered the LLC or whatever.
So much data.
So we can look back quite often, and this is just was a small thing that's like a shout out to UX. I think our engineer, like Guillermo in the engineering, I think like started this like let's squeeze this in. I don't remember, but we still have a notation on our tag pages of the date that it's created, but it wasn't clear when you look at the visual, which is what most people are going straight to. So it made sense to do, but it looked great.
It's something we've always wanted, and engineering took the initiative to go ahead
Knocked
and
it
do
out in 3 days. Like hat tip to Jen and Ronnie. They're super talented.
Jen was helped.
Yeah, super talented. I heard a rumor that we might have a Kev annotation coming soon, but no promises to the folks listening. But it'd be cool if that actually does come up. I want to give a shout out to my buddy Rick. If you don't know Rick Ferguson, Google or Kagi him. He's just a phenomenal person. Has been around as long as I have. And he was at the Irish Reporting and Information Security Service conference. This was a really great, like it's usually a pretty good conference. This was a really great one. Speaking of graybeards, well, there were some ladies there, so there's no beards. But like speaking of gray hairs, a lot of my gray hair pals were at this one and doing phenomenal talks. Really just brief thing here. I don't know if we want to dig into it much because we're running a little long, but I just wanted to shout out to folks. Rick made a great point. So the Russia-Ukraine conflict is going to end in some way, shape, or form at some point. And even if it doesn't end quickly, some of the cyber portions of that, the folks that are doing those things are going to basically like wilt away from the actual conflict and go back to just trying to earn money, like they were doing before, or do other bad things. And basically, this was a great talk, and I hope they don't usually post vids, but I hope this one gets posted somewhere, or Rick can post his notes or something. That Russia's got they've amassed a lot more information, talent, exploits. Like they've really gotten better. Like a lot of places where there's conflict, the folks on both sides, they get better at cyber as a result of that. And the reality is like at some point this will go away, and now they've got all these tools that right now it's spillover effect for the rest of us, and it's going to be direct effect for all of us, especially in the OT space, IoT space, etc. So I guess just maybe for each of you, any advice to orgs to prepare for this, like now, because now you got to start now, because most orgs aren't ready for this. So any advice to orgs?
No, same.
Not can cover. Okay, all right.
Didn't we? Well, okay. So Bob, we had a story recent-ish, talking about when we see, I'm trying to remember on the fly here, but essentially like tactics used, essentially, so in this example, Russia to Ukraine, it does spill over to everyone eventually anyway, right? Like not even including when the kinetic war is over, but just because the internet is a tube of pipes that are all connected, things get further than you intend quite often easily. So not even like just to focus on like when the conflict is over, but even before then, right? Like to your point,
Yeah.
like prepare now, because don't I guess what I'm saying is don't think about this as like the war ends and then we have to worry about it. Like no, it's going to spill out. It already is spilling out in some ways and affecting private and commercial sectors while the war's still going on. But then my brain, and this is a really terrible analogy that is very American, sadly, in its reference, but a lot of times when there's a war and then it's over, a lot of that surplus military gear gets sold to like local police agencies. And then, that kind of creates, this is theoretical and debatable, but like creates a more hostile police force because of the gear and intimidation that gear brings. And so I feel the same about this in the cybernetic way,
Cyber.
where these tools, like, yeah, they're sitting on a shelf. They don't last forever, right? They have a short lifespan because, especially if they're like for O days or certain um, software software vendors or whatever. Because if you don't use it within a certain number of time, like someone else is going to find it, and so you have a unknown expiration date, so you can't sit on this forever. So all that to say, absolutely, like just be prepared that it's going to happen, and it's going to happen sooner than later.
But I don't see any difference between like the traditional security advice of like make sure that you have, your whole security onion going and have I think if I were to like advise particularly on like Russia Ukraine war fallout, just based upon the things that we saw in those initial waves of everything popping off, make sure you have good network resiliency. Like if you are lucky enough to own some ASNs or have an interesting networking situation, like make sure that you have good resiliency and know the supply chain of your network devices.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like take that even one step further and like, what network devices do you have that have interfaces that are directly accessible from the public internet?
Yeah.
And why do you have that?
Why is my question. And also, like, do you know what they are? Figure that out, fix it.
Yeah.
But another thing I'm kind of thinking about as like listening to both of your responses here too is like, I know threat intelligence is not like the primary function that folks building a security team are like, oh, we need this. You're like, no, I need like engineers who can build things securely. I need somebody who can help like respond to incidents and things like that. But I do think this kind of gets a little bit to the importance of a threat intelligence function, even if it's not like someone's dedicated job, right? Like understanding the types of things that your organization is like most like, what are the crown jewels? Why would somebody want to come after you? It could be totally opportunistic, in which case maybe get those things that make it so opportunistic off of the public internet, like maybe fix that. But I think it's worth like a little threat modeling conversation, like thinking about, why would you be in someone's crosshairs?
And
Starting with an external inventory is massive.
Yeah, and I was going to
everything
say,
comes
like,
down to software inventory,
and
network
and
inventory.
Emily is too nice to do this, but I will plug Census, because like one thing you should do is subscribe to Census and know what your attack surface looks like, which they can help you do.
well,
and
and include your public IP routes in your crown jewels. Like it's not just your administrator accounts, it's not your domain admins. It's like look at your routes, look at all of that stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm hijacking a
Co-signed.
bit. Yeah, the external, like you can do vuln scanning all day, every day internally, and that's fine. I mean, that's great. Like you need to do that. It will give you, a very large list of things that you'll never get to. But as we talk about prioritization, always scan from external. Like somehow find a way to scan as a stranger on the internet. because and continuously scan. Don't scan once a quarter. Don't
Or
scan
just use census. Or just use census.
Okay.
So we don't do vulnerability scanning. We will tell you what you need to scan. We will tell you if you're running things that like, hey, this thing has a 10 out of 10 CVSS score associated with it. You should go look at that device.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, getting a handle on that, like, I know we talked about this. It's like a marketing line, I know, but like, it's really astounding as somebody who has been in an organization and had to do asset management before.
Like, even if you have to take someone's office, pay $30 a month to install residential DSL. Is DSL still a thing, actually?
Yes.
Okay. I just hadn't even heard that word in forever until it came out of my mouth. Residential internet on it. Set up a scanner to scan your IP space externally. Like, whatever it takes, spend $100 a month to get some sort of external visibility, because that's where these folks go immediately, because obviously they're on the outside. Anyway, rant over.
I love this rant. I could rant about this all day. One of my favorite topics.
So I am also postponing one of our topics till next time around because we're running along.
Of course, the one that I told Abigail to hype on LinkedIn.
All right, fine. We will compress other things and we will talk about this one.
This is important.
This is important. All right, so TLDR, what's on the slide is, and I am not. I just have to calm. Because I can rant about this, but I'm not gonna. We're gonna celebrate the fact that Patch Tuesday, like Microsoft's Patch Tuesday, which a bunch of other folks have piled onto, is now 20 years old. Turned 20 years old this week. And
make a wish. Blow out your candle.
It was last week they turned 20 because that was like that's Patch Tuesday. So like this is big, right? Like this has been a thing. One thing I just wanted to talk about real quick. So this, I'm just going to read a little bit from it. This year was a landmark moment for Microsoft as they observed the 20th anniversary of Patch Tuesday, an initiative that has become a cornerstone of the IT world's approach to cybersecurity. Originating from the Trustworthy Computing memo by Bill Gates in 2002, editorial note by me. The Trustworthy Computing Initiative was abandoned in 2014, just FYI, and it's kind of obvious it was. Our unwavering commitment to protecting customers continues to this day and is reflected in Microsoft's Secure Future Initiative, announced this month. Each month, we deliver security updates on the second Tuesday, underscoring our pledge to cyber defense. See, not cybernetic, it's cyber. As we commemorate this milestone, it's worth exploring the inception of Patch Tuesday and its evolution through the years. Yada, yada. So read the thing because it actually does go through the history. It was a time walk back for me. I remember how this, it's wow. It was for anyone that is of a certain age. This would be a great, just like you can reminisce, like just get have a bottle of scotch there and just reminisce.
What was the first Patch Tuesday like, Bob?
We were okay. Wow, you're gonna do this,
man.
To me.
Story time. I'm here for it.
This is story time. So I will be. So I am always brutally honest with everything. So we were actually really pissed off at this back in the day. At least me and my team about this, because we were at least before getting patches when they were like when they knew there was a vuln and it was important. You got a patch, and like if we had kept into that cadence, we would have, I think, been in a better situation because we would have been forcing vendors to fix things in like up front, like actually have more secure software up front, because orgs would not have tolerated that pain over time. And then secondarily, like it would have gotten better IT operations going because it would have been easier to patch things because we would have forced that to be something that vendors did as well too. So we were originally, like a bunch of us, I can't say, I'm not speaking for every old person, but like for back in the day, we were not happy about this. But I will say about 6 months after that, it was kind of nice having like a brace for impact week. Like, oh yeah, that's Patch Tuesday next week. Like just kind of like we do now, like we brace at GreyNoise for Patch Tuesday because it could be a heckish week for all of our detection engineers. It could be brutal for them. And I hate the customers, but like I care about my team more than customers. Sorry, customers. Like because I don't want them, because it's this is hard work. You all don't know how hard this work is. I care about the customer. I deeply care about the customers, but I care about my people more. I'm sorry. It's a thing. I should.
I like the cadence of a Patch Tuesday. You know, you just know that day is going to be a day, and like you have a routine. It makes Microsoft feel very like routine oriented. And then if there's an emergency patch, you know that it's really bad. That doesn't happen very often anymore. Or it didn't happen very often for a while, and now it's happening more often.
I'm thinking about orgs that aren't still patching on a monthly basis. So fast forward 20 years, is this net positive or net negative? I would argue positive, because if so many orgs still can't figure out or manage, for many reasons, to patch on a regular cadence with this predictable 1 day a month thing, then a free-for-all patch.
I'm paging back for a reason, Glenn. I'm paging back through our slide deck for a reason. That's what I'm doing. Everybody can't see on the
Yeah.
podcast. It's worked so well. It's worked great. These are every one of those vulns we just talked about, ransomware and extortion, were
But
all
how much
internet.
worse would it be if it was just like there's a patch on Tuesday and then a patch on Thursday and then one on Monday? Like, orgs would be like, well, we don't know when to start our QA.
So let's dial it back for a second. Every like, so when like not immediately, but after a time, Adobe's like, oh yeah, patch, because Flash was remember Flash was a thing back in my day, kids. So like we were dealing with
It's
the Flash
still out
and
there and still vulnerable everywhere.
oh
by
no
the way.
no. I don't disagree with that. But like, but they and Acrobat Reader, people actually read PDFs on with Reader back in the day, and like there were constant things with those too, and they just we're gonna pile on to Patch Tuesday too,
Yeah.
and then Oracle said, oh, we're gonna line up our quarterly stuff
do it
on Patch
quarterly.
Tuesday, but on a Patch Tuesday. Everybody threw their crap onto Patch Tuesday, and like we could get someone that actually is in the vulnerability management trenches on this thing, and I know a few of them. Like that is, and Glenn, you used to, we had to deal with this back at the previous job. That is not a fun day to be someone that's in vulnerability management, because
No.
everyone does the same thing.
It's a 2 a.m. like end time for most folks.
Yeah, it's not
Did you
cool.
guys ever have like Patch Tuesday pizza parties, or was that just
Yeah, I'm envisioning like making it a fun thing, but I
Some
don't.
places tried, but it's not fun no matter how much pizza
It
you
isn't.
throw at it.
Yeah, it is. Like it's a lot of grueling work, especially for a very large organization with a diverse software base.
Yeah, I had to do it at a community college and a smaller business, and it was pretty rough there too. I can imagine what it would be like at somewhere like a big, massive Bank of America type thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would argue net positive though overall.
Yeah, net positive. Happy birthday, Patch
Yeah.
Tuesday. Next year you get to start drinking.
Yeah, next year I'll buy you a little
whiskey
beverage.
bottle.
They can start drinking the minute they actually have a year without an exchange vulnerability. Anyway, we won't go through that there. I'm shooting through the rest of this pretty quick. Emily and I are gonna, and everyone else can join in too, but Emily and I are gonna do a Camless dive. It's a cool AI machine learning cybersecurity conference. Actually, I need to say hi to Dave. Thanks, Dave. Dave reminded me that the videos were out this week, so I appreciate that, Dave. And y'all, we're gonna pick a couple things, not talk about the entire thing. Might try to get a friend of the pod on as well too, Eric Lincoln. I'm gonna be talking to him today.
So amazing.
Yeah, we got to get Eric on here. So that's cool. And I'm just dropping the tool time. We're just going to mention the tools real quick. We're not going to deep dive on these. The first one is Max CVE. So this is about container security and container vulnerabilities. This is one that is designed to help you test your vulnerability management practices at your organization. Basically, it's a container image with every vuln, except it doesn't have any software on it. It just has the inventory of software on it, which it turns out most container scanning utilities, that's all they do is take the inventory from that trusted file and do it on there. So this is a neat tool to test how well you do container vulnerability scanning that's out there. And it's paired with a really neat video, which we have a YouTube link up for it. Ian Coldwater, a bunch of other folks out there. Ian's cool. I mean, they're all cool, but Ian's really cool. And this is talking about, hey, like, what do you really know about your containers and how they run and how they're vulnerable, whatever. Great talk. Absolutely fantastic talk. We cannot talk about it today because Ashley will kill me. So you can't do that. So we're not going to do that. Shameless self-promotion. I'm going to briefly go through these and we're going to give census, as usual, up top billing for these things. What's the first blog about, Emily?
Yeah, so I'll keep this pretty quick. So we are introducing a new tier for search access. So historically, we've had kind of like enterprise access and free access, and there's not really been much in the middle, which is a large portion, I would imagine, of folks who probably want to use Census. Like I've been on teams who would benefit from this, like kind of Goldilocks sort of just right sized offering. So it starts at $4.99 a month. There's just under, I think, 4,000 queries that you get with this package, some additional features as well in search and with the API. But that's really cool because I think that enables teams who are kind of like, they need a little more than the free account, but they don't necessarily need like enterprise or like pro grade like level, or and don't necessarily have the funds to like to make that happen. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to see more folks getting their hands in the data.
That's really cool. That's actually a really cool feature.
Yeah.
Next one.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about this actually at the threat hunting workshop last week, discovery of
cool.
NTC Vulcan infrastructure. And there's a link in the show notes. So I will say like, go read this. But essentially this was using Census to look at public facing infrastructure that appears to be associated with NTC Vulcan, and one of their kind of like internal teams that appears to build some tools that may or may not overlap with what NTC Vulcan has allegedly built in the past for the Russian government. So go check that out. I think that's pretty interesting. I think we have one more. Yeah. So this is a post about historical data in Census. Again, I would imagine that most folks listening or watching probably don't need to like have an explainer around why, historical search data is so valuable. Obviously, if you're studying malicious infrastructure, you want to look at a timeline. You want to see the profile of this host over time, right? And so this is just a blog that kind of goes into like how to do that with historical data, kind of what you get, why that's useful. But historical data is by far one of the things that I and my team use most when we're investigating some of these things, like NTC Vulcan or like other kind of threat actors or threat infrastructure. So just a little post about like why that's valuable and how you can use it.
Very cool. Very cool. And yeah, as I mentioned before, historical data is immensely valuable, and we can troll back through ours if we need to pick up anything or to rerun detections against old things too. So I completely like it's an invaluable resource to be a data hoarder. Sometimes is actually a good thing in this case.
100%. Save it all.
We have a link up to one of our GreyNoise blogs. I did a thing last week, basically talks about our segment in our tags of the Kev ransomware CVEs. We got out 75 of them, and it's
a good humble brag. It's a good humble brag.
Was having 75 tags is pretty good.
No, I mean it. Like the blog is good because it shows essentially like the effectiveness, or demonstrates some of the effectiveness of why we do what we do.
Yeah, and it's also good news. Just one more good news thing. Like both CISA and we are getting like really good at being extremely timely. With CVE comes out, we have a tag for it, and CISA has, unfortunately, it's not a good thing because it means they've seen it exploited in the wild in critical infrastructure. But there's awareness, immediate coverage, like and also proving that you don't actually have 2-3 months to patch stuff. Rackspace. We're not going to talk about that one. And so we have 5 tags. We will talk about SIF next week. We have 5 tags from the last time around. It's pretty cool. And we need to talk about Kev real quick, just to give people awareness about what's going on with Kev. It's been, did anybody check? Did Todd screw me over again?
There was one today.
Oh
no,
really?
Todd. Anyway,
can you believe the week of Thanksgiving?
Yeah, it's not great. So I need to change my prediction now, Ashley. Sorry. So there was a bunch. There was 6 up until this morning, and we have a tag for the Sophos. So I think we're poking at another one as well too. The thing I want to talk about here is that's the one that we have, the Sophos Web Appliance RCE attempt. It was nice of CISA to finally acknowledge it was a bad thing, because we've known about it since like 05/01 of this year, and we've been seeing activity all along and whatever. So we beat you again, CISA. Just have fun with that. So definitely hit out the tag if you want to read more information about that. And 2 things. One, there's a really neat new thing that CISA is doing, providing basically MSSP scanning services for critical infrastructure. Take advantage of this, critical infrastructure people. I know dealing with the government can be scary. People at CISA are great. They're really, really great people, really great humans, smart, capable. They do great work. Do this because they do it for this thing, and they know what they're doing. It's great. They do this for agencies. Let them do it for you. And then the other one is I'm always talking about healthcare on this thing, and basically every other podcast I mention healthcare. Great healthcare public sector guidance about mitigating stuff inside your organization. We have no time to talk about it. We weren't going to talk about it anyway. Take a look at the link if you're in healthcare. If you're not, take a look at it. It applies to everywhere, but it applies.
I was going to say it's advice that needs to be followed everywhere. It's also just really more impactful in healthcare right now.
It is. And we are on Discord. So I am going to close this out almost on time, Ashley. Promise. Uh, and so I'm closing it out with a question to each one of you. And I did prompt you all ahead of time to know this. So I will start with Emily. Emily, what is your favorite Thanksgiving side?
So I thought about this the entire episode. I don't have a good answer because I'm kind of like on most Thanksgiving foods, I think, but probably like I know. I feel
What
like
about cybernetic like Thanksgiving
oh
foods?
my
I'm
God.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Cybernetic pie chart for dessert is what I'm going to go with. I'm just going to leave that there.
All right.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, Kimber.
You know, I also was thinking about this all episode because when you prompted it, I was like, "Oh, easy," and then it's
That's
not.
why Bob's done most of the talking this episode, because we've all
been pondering
food.
like
Yeah. I am going to choose mashed potatoes. That is generally my responsibility at Thanksgiving. I have been mashed potato queen for the last like 5 years or something. I don't know. So mashed potatoes.
All right,
Glenn?
interesting. I feel like this is going to be very southern, but I don't know. You tell me. Sweet potato casserole with like pecans and marshmallows.
that is pretty southern. Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
I'm not gonna.
it's
Okay,
wonderful.
I'm doing truce because I would absolutely judge the marshmallow part, but I will not do that now. I'm not gonna judge them.
I mean, I don't make the rules. I just eat it, and it's delicious.
It's okay. It's just yeah.
But can I say the least favorite food is the actual turkey, because turkey's overrated.
Yeah, turkey's dry. What is corn casserole? Our Overwatch.
Ooh, corn casserole.
I'm intrigued.
That sounds
Yeah.
very southern.
We'll have to get
Or,
that.
no,
We'll have
I'm
to get
thinking
that
of corn
recipe.
dip. Corn dip is good.
We will totally have to get that recipe.
Bob, what's yours?
Mine is I make this pancetta, sage, and onion
Okay.
stuffing.
Oh my
Oh wow. This whole question was set up so that you could talk about this, I
Yeah.
realize.
This
I
was
mean,
not-
I get
I'm
it.
done. I'm
so-
not digging in, but it's yeah. I get the bread a certain way. It's just yeah, and like I actually like the turkey, but I could just eat the stuffing too. So
Do you make the bread yourself? for the
some
stuffing?
years, but most years I end up secret. The Pepperidge Farm like mini square sandwich bread. You've seen those packets? It's a blue and white label on the top. That makes let it dry out, and then makes the best stuffing for what it's out there.
Wow.
Fascinating.
Pro tip from Bob.
I mean, follow Bob on Mastodon for food pics. That'll just make you really angry because it looks so good.
Yeah.
There was was it a ciabatta recently?
Yeah,
that I was
made
like,
ciabatta.
man,
Yeah,
yeah.
that actually came out really good. Not gonna lie,
It looked
was pretty good.
beautiful.
It was wonderful. Cool. All right. Well, happy Thanksgiving to all this. Are we calling them storm chasers now, Glenn? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So all the
yeah, that's
storm
right.
chasers. Yeah. So
The two
happy
fans that
Thanksgiving.
we have, we're calling
Yeah.
storm chasers.
To all the storm chasers out there, apologies for long show again. Overwatch, we'll make it better next time, promise. And tune in next week for another Stormwatch.
Bye.
Bye.